Hello, my name is Kimberly K. French, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Every week we're going to be talking about different themes from my book that I recently put out called Unexpected Pivots, where we talk about how to build a stable foundation for yourself to keep your sanity through all the twists and turns that happen in life, whether they are internal twists and turns from reacting to what people are doing around you, news in the media, which is making a lot of us unsettled at the current moment, but also things like the holidays that are coming up. And that can cause a lot of stress and uneasiness in us because all these expectations that are up on us. And we want to be able to keep a solid foundation for ourselves. So in these weekly, and sometimes 2-3 times a week, I'll be coming out here and talking about a topic. In November, we're going to be talking about staying centered. So in my book, I created a stable process where STABLE stands for a system that you can use for yourself that helps you build a stable foundation. So with that, S is stay centered, and that's what we're going to be focused on in November. In the future months, we're going to be focused on the other TABLE, which is T is trust your inner guidance, a big one for me, and that's one of my favorites of connecting with something bigger than yourself to trust the guidance that you're being given through intuition or other means. A is accept life as it is. Acceptance is a big component. B is believe anything is possible. L is live in gratitude. And then E, empower yourself. If you haven't read my book, I'll create a little handy link down below to Amazon. It's available on Audible, paperback, or Kindle version, and that's all available on Amazon. You can also get it through your local bookstore online. Let's start with stay centered. November, we will be focused on that. This week, we're going to be focusing on some tips of how to stay centered and to focus on it. Next week, I've got some science behind the whole stay centered concept. There's a lot of people who have done a lot of studies on how to stay centered and the benefits for you physically, emotionally, and otherwise. And then beyond that, we're going to be looking at other people's stories of how they stay centered in week 3. I don't know what we're going to do in week 4 yet. I haven't figured that one out, but those are kind of the rhythms I'm going to be taking. The first week is me sharing some things that I do in my own life. Second week, going into some of the science behind the concepts. Third week, sharing other people's stories. And then fourth week is like a grab bag. Don't know yet. We'll figure it out when we get there. So staying centered is one of those crucial elements for navigating the unpredictable twists and turns in life. It is a cornerstone for me. So that when things like trigger you, instead of flying off the handle and like staying in anger and staying in rage or staying in anxiety or fear, or that kind of locks you down, getting back to center is one of those pieces that is critical so that you can move forward with good decisions. So when you find yourself caught in the whirlwind of an unexpected pivot, it's really, really easy to get overwhelmed and make hasty decisions driven by anxiety, fear, frustration. But as I've learned in my own experiences, these emotional responses do not always serve me. And I make less than optimal choices. And there's some that are like the small ones that kind of persist over time. And I'll go through some of my own examples. And then there are the bigger ones that just hit you in the face. It's like, yeah, that was not an optimal decision, making a choice out of fear. And you know them for yourselves. We all have them. Some for me in my own examples are, since I can remember, just eating chocolate every single afternoon and going for the sugar and going for like this. I remember my first job, out of college, and I was like going down to the cafeteria to eat the chocolate chip cookie and then the latte or whatever it was every afternoon. And it wasn't long, and I really realized that was not going to serve me and my waistline and my energy level, because really the result of that is fatigue. I always feel tired after that, the sugar crash you get, but then also the weight gain, and if clothes don't fit and you don't feel as good in your body, and it's like, ugh, it's just one of those little incessant things over time that I'm not dealing with my emotions of the afternoon stress. I'm going for food, and there is a result. And now, 20 years later, 30 years later, between those two, today I, dig into my toolkit. I still sometimes go for it and I catch myself, but I've started to really focus more on making choices that make my body feel a whole lot better. Whole foods is something I turn to a whole lot more, and smaller amounts of high quality chocolate. Not to say that I don't do the others sometimes, but I definitely am focused more on feeling more energetic and better in my body. It's like, it gives me a little feeling of goodness right now, even thinking about going and having, the whole foods, and not just always salads. My body doesn't like salads. I don't know. I have some. It's usually the warm foods like cooked spinach or cooked sweet potatoes. Oh my gosh, my body loves cooked sweet potatoes. And then having, a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of butter and some walnuts on top. And it's like, my body is craving that right now. I want to go have one. It's the middle of the afternoon when I'm recording this, so I may go do just that. And then there's some of the bigger ones that, even though they're like over time, one of them for me is I isolate when I feel anxious, or I cocoon. I just want to hide. I just want to withdraw. Some people go and lash out, or they go out in bigger ways. But for me, I kind of cocoon and I kind of separate myself from, social support. And that's the result, right? I separate myself and I don't get the social support when I need it most. So, duh. It's like, why do I do that? And they are patterns that have been developing over time. But, as I get older and hopefully wiser, I'm consciously choosing to reach out more to my social network and know the few friends that I have that I can go to when I'm feeling unsettled or afraid and just need to talk things through. Because usually when I talk things through about something that's happening internally, it quickly comes to the surface what it is and what I need to do about it. So, the result of that, of course, is deeper friendships. And it's like, I'm going to give myself another hug because, oh my gosh, it feels so good to have deeper friendships develop over time when you have that trust that you build with other people. And it's worth the effort. And cocooning although cocooning sometimes has its place for short periods of time, it's not the everyday strategy that I choose now. So, with that, I wanted to share a few of the staying centered techniques that I use to kind of draw myself back from cocooning or the emotional eating or different things that keep my head on straight in the long run. And it helps me keep my sanity. So the 3-step process that I want to share with you right now from my personal toolkit starts with number 1, being present in the moment. And so being present in the moment to me is remembering that I'm not just living in the past. I'm not thinking about the future, because one of the most effective ways for me to regain my composure after or during a life-altering event or any kind of, stressful event, doesn't have to be life-altering, is to anchor myself there and say, okay, I can't do anything about the past. It's done. And I can't dwell on the future because the choices I make right now depend on that future. So I need to make good choices right here, right now, and focus on how I can stay centered in the moment. So, and I've got 2 different techniques in this, bringing yourself back to the present moment. They may sound a little silly, but it works. And you know what? I say go for it if it works for you. So you may ask, how do you stay present in the moment? And one of the ways I have found, and I heard this a few years ago, and it stuck with me, but it's to pretend in the moment you are an alien. Your first time visiting here to Earth, you heard me right. Try it on and experience it for yourself. Pretend you're an alien. So you just arrived here, you got your bags in hand. You don't have a past here. You don't really have any plans here yet. You just have bags that you packed, and you know that you packed wisely. You packed everything that you're going to need for your experience here, and you're looking at this planet for the first time with fresh eyes. So that's technique number 1. It's really powerful to center yourself. And I was amazed the first time I had experienced it, because I was wondering how it was actually going to work, but it does. It kind of takes away all of the angst I might be feeling on both sides and just kind of brings me right here, right back here. Technique number two is a surrender technique, and it is scoop up your worries. So I think about all the things I'm worried about, all the things about the past or the future. I might think about, something I'm worried about in my daughter at school, or my work, or my husband, or something I'm worried, or in the world. And sometimes it's like it's a feeling in my body. So I scoop up those feelings. I scoop them up. I say, okay, here's worry. And I scoop it up and I hold it up like this, and I say, higher power, this is not serving me. This worry is not serving me, and I trust that you have everything under control, and I'm going to focus on what I can control. So here, take my worries. Worries is not going to hurt. Worry is not going to help this situation. And I raise it up and I say, take it. And then I just imagine this like vacuum cleaner up in the sky, just like sucking up all those worries. And, God's just, or my higher power is just like taking all those worries and sucking them up. And if I got another thought that comes to mind, I go, okay, I got more. Here they are, surrender them. They don't do me any good. Worrying about it is not doing me any good. And trusting you is much better. So there's that vacuum that kind of sucks them all up. And I keep doing that until most of them are gone, or all of them are gone. If you can get to all of them, that's great. I mean, it's not going to be the last time you worry. It's not the last time I worry. But in that moment, they're there. And then finally, I envision my higher powers, beautiful beaming light coming down. I just created a bunch of empty space where all the worry was. And I envisioned the love of the Creator, my higher power, filling me and filling all those gaps where the worries once were, filling it with love and light. And just even thinking about it right now, I take a deep breath. And it allows the weight of that worry to be shed. And I am embracing the present moment. And like I said, if you're worried about looking silly about either of those two things, you're going to be doing it in private. And I say whatever works. Don't worry about looking silly. The sillier the better, actually, because your body is going to laughter is great for all types of things. And if you feel silly in the moment and it gives you peace, I choose peace. So those are the two techniques that I use to bring myself back into the present moment. There's more, and you find what works for you. I feel having a toolkit ready and practicing before you really need it is worth the time and effort. So, first one, stay present in the current moment. Number two, pray confidently. Praying confidently after you get into the present moment is really finding that simple prayer for yourself that you know is going to work and feel like you're in your power. There are prayers that I have said and other people say where you're pleading for help. And this is not that type of prayer. I feel like when you're going through a stressful moment, my higher power has already said that I am protected, I am cared for, just ask and I'll receive. So using prayer and a confident prayer to pray to your higher power during an unexpected event goes something like this for me, where I'm acknowledging the support of my higher power is giving me. And I say, thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, higher power, for guiding me through this situation. I trust you. And I trust that you and my guardian angels are with me at all times. I have other techniques I use with my guardian angels that I'll share at future videos and newsletters. But right now I'm focused on this one. And then the last thing I say is, what do I need to do in this circumstance right now? What is mine to do? And like I said, this approach does not involve pleading for assistance. Instead, it confidently assumes support is already there and present, and it seeks guidance on the actions I am to take, emphasizing that the idea that anything is achievable when I listen to my higher guidance. Like I said when I opened up this video, higher guidance is really important to me because we get the amazing answers. So, but this stance, this prayer empowers me and prevents me from seeing myself as a victim of circumstances, and it puts me into a place of action. And it puts me in a place where I know what the next step is going to be when I get the higher guidance. So, step number one, be in the present moment. Step number two, pray confidently. And then step number three, affirm and act. So with my mind centered in the present moment, and I'm focused on a prayer that is empowering and is asking for guidance, I then affirm and I act. Like, I affirm, I can do this. I take a deep breath. I sit up tall and I say, I can do this. I'm resourceful and I can handle this. I would not be given this situation if I couldn't handle it. I'm more resourceful than I recognize most times. I think every one of us are. And then next, I will write down the words or images that come to mind based on the prayer I just said for the guidance. And when I get done writing down all the images of what the higher guidance is telling me, I then take a moment to say, okay, where am I going to act on this? How am I going to act on this? And make a plan for action. Because it's easy to listen to, and it's easy to maybe get ideas that come into our head and the higher guidance. But if we don't act on it, we lose the power. So a couple examples from my own life, staying centered in the hospital when my daughter was born. She was born at 25 weeks, weighing 1 pound. She was there for 5 months. And my higher guidance, I prayed and I was like, God, what am I to do with this? I centered myself and really what am I going to do every day in the hospital with her all day long? And it was a very challenging situation. But the first thing that came to my head was to take up knitting. And I had never knit a day in my life. And I was like, where's that coming from? But just by doing that listening to that simple guidance and finding a friend who quickly taught me a very basic stitch. And I bought the yarn, I bought the needles. I just did a basic stitch across back and forth, back and forth. It put me into a meditative state where I was able to spend time supporting my daughter by her bedside while keeping my mind occupied on different mantras like, with God, all things are possible. And it carried me through those 5 months. And I haven't knit since. After the 5 months were over, I dropped knitting, never picked it up again. But I listened in that moment, and it had those key elements I needed to stay focused on what I needed to stay focused during those hours by her bedside. So that's just one example. I've got so many others where I've listened to higher guidance, and it has been invaluable in my life. Other ways that you might consider to regain a centered state are listening to uplifting music or videos. I have my playlist on YouTube and I have it on, Apple Music, where I know where I can go if I need to lift my energy and to get into a centered state. I will put on a comedy. I will have stories that I read or, books behind me where I'll pull off the shelf where it's, little tidbits here and there of wisdom that I turn to on a regular basis. And then, of course, the one that always works is taking those nature walks. I live in the Pacific Northwest. Even though it rains here a lot in the winter time, we still go walking even when it rains. And just connecting with nature and grounding myself is a really powerful way just to bring myself back to center and see that, I am a small piece of the bigger cosmos. And usually any worry that I have is a small compared to the bigger picture. And letting those things go, when the things I can't control, is really shifted when I'm in nature. So each of these methods can serve as pathways to finding your center amidst life's chaos. The choice of approach depends on the situation and the level of your distress, and the level of distress. So it's really crucial to sit and listen to your inner guidance when selecting the right strategy in the moment. Life is a bit crazy right now, and we all have to do our best to stay centered and not go off the rails. So when you equip your toolkit with the resources you need and practice them often, I mentioned it before, it pays off dividends in the long run. Feel free to connect with me and share your personal strategies. Do them in the comments below. Until next week, when we'll be exploring the science behind centeredness. With love and gratitude, I am Kimberly Kay.